Today I wanted to talk about the book of Esther and how it applies to the treatment of women. So, if you go to Sunday school or you get a message in church, they'll talk about how God used Esther to help the Jewish people, and that's the focus. It's fair enough. What they skip over very quickly is how Esther got to be in the position she was. And if you read in the book of Esther, there was a Persian king, and he had a wife. She's very beautiful. They had a party, and at the party he wanted to show off his wife. So he calls her through the chambermaids or chamberlains or whatever, and she refuses to come. So, most of you in your modern day thinking would be, well, what's wrong with that, When you understand that in biblical times, women were property, and they were supposed to be obedient. So her open rebellion set a precedent, and what ends up happening here is like in Esther, it's 1:12. It says the Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's command by his chamberlains, and the king was angry. Right. So the king asks his wise people. He's like, "Hey, man, what should we do about this?" And so they reply, "What shall we do unto the Queen Vashti according to the law? Because she has not performed the commandment of the king." And it says here that Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and all the people that are in the provinces of the king. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes when it shall be reported. And basically he tells them, like, hey, you got to divorce your wife. And that's the reason he's giving. If the queen cannot obey the king, well, then women everywhere are not going to obey their husbands. That's my point today. People want to talk about biblical marriage. They want to talk about the roles of women and the roles of men in the Bible. And this isn't a one-off thing. Like, the Persian king is not a Jewish king, but it doesn't matter. This is supposed to be the verbally inspired, inerrant Word of God. And so this story and all the details are in there for a specific reason. And so you might think, okay, well, all right, I get it. Women are supposed to obey men. The other part of it is, I just want to stress here that how the king found his new wife was they sent out invitations to all the unmarried virgins in the land to present themselves to the king. And the king literally would screw a different chick every night or every other night or whatever, or maybe 3 a night. And he just kept going through women and screwing these women until he found one that he liked. That's how Esther got in there. Esther presented herself as a unmarried virgin, and she could take in anything she wanted, whatever she thought was going to turn him on, and that's how she got in. And, the thing is the Bible does not depict that as being a bad thing. And again, you might say, oh, but that was a Persian king. Remember, this is supposed to be the verbally inerrant, inspired Word of God. And if you still want to keep going back to, he wasn't a Jewish king, just remember, there's a bunch of kings, prophets, they all had multiple wives, most of them. Father Abraham. And then just remember, King Solomon, he had what was it, 700 wives and 300 concubines, so 1,000 women at his disposal. So before you go poo-pooing this guy for being a non-Jewish king, just remember, the wisest and greatest man to ever sit on the throne of David was Solomon.